Hi, everyone. So today I'm going to talk about Morpho, which is an open infrastructure for on-chain loans. Okay, so as a mean of an introduction, Morpho is the second largest lending and borrowing protocol on Ethereum today. We got $70 million in funding, and we're providing an open, efficient, and decentralized platform for anyone to create their lending and borrowing use cases. So today we have approximately like a bit less than $3 billion like deposited in the protocol. So a little bit of history, because a lot of what we're building has been inspired by what we've done before. So we've done two protocols in the history of Morpho. We used to build one that was called Morpho Optimizer, which is like a layer on top of Aave and optimizing Aave. And we've been building that for 2 years, between 2021 and 2023. And we grew this to like $2 billion. But at some point we decided that was not scalable enough and was not safe enough for like our ambitions. So we decided to build our own lending and borrowing infrastructure, right? Okay, so today what I want to talk specifically about is the architecture of Morpho and how we've built the protocol compared to how others have been designed so far. So the Morpho stack, as we call it, has multiple components. The most important one is the Morpho market. So it's like the main primitive on top of which anything is going to be built. So you can think of it as Uniswap markets, essentially, but for lending. So it's extremely primitive. The only thing, anyone can deploy. It's completely permissionless. Anyone can deploy their lending market. And they're composed of one collateral asset, one loan asset, one oracle, and one restier, essentially. And once deployed, they're completely ungoverned, completely immutable. You can think of them as micro lending primitives that anyone can build on top, right? Okay, so the good thing about those Morpho markets is that anyone can deploy them, but then you have a bunch, and it's very hard to choose which one you want to deposit into or which one you want to borrow from, right? And so this is what we've built, what we call Morpho vaults, that are essentially aggregators built on top of Morpho markets that are managed. And you can think of them as the risk management layer of Morpho, where anyone can build their own vault and aggregate multiple primitive markets, right? So vaults are managed, and markets are not. They're completely immutable and governed, right? And so essentially we have many different players in the space. We have Maker, now Sky, Gauntlet, Stakehouse, etc. They all run their own lending and borrowing businesses on Morpho by deploying their vault, right? So the good thing about this approach is that anyone can tailor to the risk that they want, the compliance that they want, and get specifically tailored use cases, lending and borrowing use cases for the venue that they're targeting, right? So okay, the way it works, all together is that people deposit in the vault. And this money gets deposited into those primitive markets that, again, are ungoverned and can be used by other vaults, right? So usually, vaults would share markets with one another. We'll come to that in a moment. And obviously, those depositors get paid because at the end of the day, you have borrowers actually paying interest and borrowing from those markets. And so what's interesting about this layered architecture, as opposed to the monolithic, lending and borrowing pool that most of us are used to with the Aave and compounds of the world, is that different vaults, say the Maker vault and the Gauntlet vault, can share liquidity with one another, meaning that they're going to reaggregate different markets, different primitive markets that they have in common, right? So, as a whole, the interesting thing about the Morpho platform is that it's completely open. Anyone can build on top of it, generate their own fees. It's literally their own business. And we don't have any control over that, right? So people building on Morpho don't have a contractual relationship with us. They just build on top of us and generate their own money, right? So all of them, except those that are on purpose not taking any fees, are profitable today and generated ever since the launch of Morpho $20 million in revenue. Right, so here is a recap approach of this layered aggregated approach versus the monolithic approach. So on the left side you have the Aave and compound approach, which is one size fits all for lending. Everybody gets treated equally. Everything is centrally managed by the Aave DAO. as opposed to the Morpho approach, which is completely open stack where anyone can build, and essentially liquidity gets aggregated in those markets, and anyone can build on top of it with confidence, without having to trust me, without having to trust the Morpho team. They just have to trust code, which is immutable and formally verified, audited, etc., like Uniswap. And they do their own risk management, right? So if you're a centralized exchange, if you're a fintech, etc., like if you want to generate your own yield, now you own your lending stack, as opposed to with an Aave, you would trust Aave to do proper risk management, to do proper code upgrade. In the case of Morpho, you own your code, you own your risk management, right? So it's a pretty powerful tool for large integrators. And really, the idea with Morpho is that we're not building a managed product, but again, we're an open infra, so anyone can build, on top of that, and plug to like the existing distribution channels that are connected to the Morpho stack already. Right. So like this is like the Morpho stack in a nutshell. So you have like lenders on one end, borrowers on the other hand, and we have different layers of abstractions depending on how complex you are and how if you want things abstracted away for you, then you can opt in like our account abstraction stack, then the risk management stack, and then finally the markets. If you're complex enough, let's say if you're a hedge fund, etc., and you know how to do risk management yourself, you would directly interact with the Morpho primitives, right? So we really believe in like the way of building DeFi as in a way that's decentralized, permissionless, but also primitive and rebuilt in layers. The same way like internet protocols have been 20 years from now, actually 30. So yeah, and sort of this approach helps us like have like the most like risk adjusted like profiles for like the users. You only subscribe to the code that you want to get subscribed to. You only subscribe to the risk that you subscribe to. So it's extremely flexible, all the while having a primitive that's only 600 lines of code that's completely secure and immutable. So you benefit from like the security, the flexibility, and the efficiency of the stack by just like having like something that's completely custom. So few examples of how that work. We have the Maker and Spark like example. They've been leveraging the Morpho stack. Today they have like 600 millions deposited in Morpho, I think in total, where they generate revenue. They're generating something like 10 or 15 millions, I think, from the beginning of times, where essentially they can get the loans they want, and they use it as an infrastructure for the loans of Maker. We've had exchanges like building bespoke like integrations for them, with like the proper gating that would fit them, with the proper like yield generation strategies that fits them, with the creator that they want. Again, they own the code, they own the risk management, and they it's very interesting for them, especially if they have like compliance requirements. We've also had Moonwell. So Moonwell used to be a compound fork. Now they're building on the Morpho stack, and they're have their own lending and borrowing vault. And obviously they're leveraging all those markets, but those markets also have liquidity because other vault managers are building on that. So essentially, Moonwell benefits not only from the code, but also from the state and the liquidity of the Morpho network. Right, and what we've seen, and I won't go through all of this for the sake of time, but like since the Morpho stack is an open stack, we've seen a lot of innovation around it. Like our risk creators essentially building like their own like governance systems around the Morpho stack. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, I'm happy to take some, but otherwise that would be it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul, for that insightful speech on DeFi infrastructure. Now we will shift gears to the ZK specific panel discussion about is ZK still the end game for layer 2. Allow me to introduce our featuring guest, our moderator from IOSG Figo. Welcome, Figo. And Amr from Inganyama, Michael from Brevis, Porter from ZK Sync, and Maxim from Aztec. Welcome. Welcome to the stage.